Okay, cool. So this video is not about your typical partying, chasing girls, playing video games, watching Netflix, none of that surface kind of level stuff, which is typically the effects, not the causes, not the reasons why these things are happening in the first place, why you're choosing to do these things to begin with. And more importantly, the beliefs that are keeping you stuck and kept me stuck for years, not pursuing what I wanted to do more, which was scaling my SMMAs, quitting my job, being free, building shit that I care about, and helping other people do the same. And what is probably, to be fair, to some extent still keeping me stuck, right? Because why am I saying that? Is because I know that there is a blind spot. There is an extent to which I'm actually not pushing as hard as I could be, as hard as I would be. And that's why I'm saying there's probably some extent of that as well. And so this video is more a self-reflection, as well as I'm hoping something that can help you cast some light into your own blind spots and figure out these things for yourself. And so the number one thing is indecisiveness. For me, it's been the indecisiveness on what to pursue at each level, what niche to go for, what service to offer, what offer to create, whether I should even do it in the first place, whether I should be doing coaching done with you, done for you. Indecisiveness at every single level of kind of business decisions that were required for me to move forward. And so I'll say that though, a part of that could be your personality type. It could be just your need to explore. Sometimes man's got to explore. I know I needed to explore quite a bit. I spent a lot of time choosing and playing with all kinds of hobbies and passions and endeavors to really figure myself out and to decide on what I want to move with forward. But if you don't know what to pursue, if you don't know what to actually focus on, just get a mentor, get a coach, follow on a proven system, follow in someone else's footsteps, lay out a roadmap, a theory, and then set out to accomplish it, to prove it or to disprove it, which is what I'm trying to say here is if you're trying to make money, just pick up a model to make money and pursue it. If you think it doesn't work, if you think it's a scam, then don't do it. Do another one that you think maybe having a chance. If you think all of them are scams, then maybe realize that the problem is not with them, but with you. And just give it a go, give it a try. Go and actually test it so you get first-hand reference experience and you don't just work at it, jump into conclusions and other cognitive errors that are basically keeping you broke. So that's indecisiveness. Now, if you have fear of loss, like I did, that's basically stemming from all or nothing thinking. For example, money. Fear of losing money on ads, fear of losing money on any investments when it comes to your business, views, getting views on YouTube, on your organic content, or not getting views on your content, thinking that that is a waste of time. Any fear of loss is basically rooted in some all or nothing thinking, where you think that you're either winning, you're either succeeding, or you're not. And that's just not true. That basically means you're not seeing the shades in between, okay? Now, there are other things like closing bridges on quitting a job, failing a business, not realizing that these things are not irreversible. These are not so-called one-way doors. If you are to quit a job, a career, if you are to fail a business, those things are not, first of all, irreversible, and also they're not transferable. Meaning, you could be failing at building an SMMA, fine. You will still acquire so many skill sets like marketing, sales, management of teams, hiring, firing, etc. And those things can make you an absolutely dangerous operator or sales executive or client success manager in someone else's company. That's fine. Not all businesses succeed. Not all businesses succeed at the same time. And maybe you joining forces with someone else, partnering up with someone who can complement the things, the reasons, the skills that you lacked is ultimately the move that's going to get you there. And so when you realize that all these things you can actually transform and evolve along with you, you basically realize that these things are not a reason to keep you broke, okay? Another one is catastrophizing. So for example, catastrophizing is when you think that the outlook that you have currently on your business is going to be how your business is going to be like forever. If currently you're struggling with client fulfillment nightmare, you think clients are always going to be shitty, you think business is always going to be unpleasant. And not just that, but you think it's all going to go down to nothing. And that fundamentally is happening because you're blowing the whole thing out of proportion. You're blowing it out of the water. You're thinking that Maybe the business model itself is flawed. The niche is messed up, saturated, or whatever. That's the reason why people constantly chase new shiny objects. It's because they don't recognize that you could be looking at the smallest piece of this puzzle and just fix that. It's what Jordan Peterson would say: do not blow up the entire map, because the entire territory rather, because this is just a map. This is just a skewed lens through which you're watching this whole thing. Okay, so it's super important to recognize that you can distill it down to just like a couple of things that you can tweak. Maybe if you're doing a pure done for you service for your clients and you're dealing with too much grief and aggro from them in terms of dissatisfaction with all kinds of things, maybe you can add a done with you element. Maybe you can do a bit of coaching element where they take some responsibility as well. That's something that we're doing in our agency right now. We're moving from pure done for you to more done with you, and that's also changing the kind of clients that we attract, and that changes the expectations that they have, also the involvement that they get. And it basically shifts this entire thing away from the so-called fulfillment hell that we were kind of getting to, not fully, but we're definitely getting a taste of that. And so do not catastrophize, do not throw the baby with the bathwater. Another way I like to say this, because chances are if someone else is hacking it, and that's a good way to combat that, is to look around. If someone else is hacking that model, if someone else is making money with that model, they can make it work, then it's not it, it's you. Okay. Another one is black and white thinking. I hinted at this before as well. Essentially is thinking either it's one way or no way at all. It's my way or the highway. Basically, again, this is about not seeing shades. It's also known as binary thinking. I'll give an example: client results. Unless you're getting impeccable client results, 100% satisfaction, then you are failing. If you don't have the perfect product, then you shouldn't be building this business. You shouldn't be scaling this thing. Success, as everything else, is relative, and it is in the eye of the beholder, because a lot of it is perception. And your job as an agency owner is to mitigate that and to shift the perception of success from your clients. That's what a client success manager does, for example. This is where black or white thinking kind of mumble jumbles a bit with perfectionism, which is also stemming from black and white thinking, which is showing its nasty head in instances where, for example, you don't start SMMA or outreach because you don't have case studies. You don't get case studies because you don't actually start. You think you need testimonials in order to get your first clients. These things are very black and white, and that's just not the case. If you start seeing the shades in between, you realize that these are number games. You're going to outreach to 10 people. If you had testimonials, if you had case studies, 40-50% of them would probably book a meeting with you. Because you don't have those things, 10 to 20% of them will book a meeting with you. It's a less likely rate of success, but it is success nevertheless. And in these shades of gray is where you find the things, the steps, the transitory intermediary steps that you can climb in order to get to those coveted points where you want to get to. And guess what? By the time you get your case studies, you get your testimonials, you'll encounter another limitation. Now you don't have the perfect team. Now you don't have the perfect system to hire your appointment setters, to hire your media buyers, to make sure that you have enough of them at the same time. At each step of the way, if you don't learn to see in between the black and white, you're gonna find all these like syncopes. You're gonna sacrifice speed and potentially stop and give up. So learn to not see just black and white thinking. Okay, another one is discounting the positives. Discounting the positives is a huge one. It's essentially self-sabotage, fear of success, not believing in yourself, call it whatever you want to call it. It's and it's easier to recognize it and to accept it when you know that it's an actual thing. It's an actual cognitive effect which is documented, to discount the positives, to look at your self and your achievements and to think lesser of them than the things that you haven't basically accomplished. My examples that cost me years were the first campaigns, the first marketing campaigns, lead generation campaigns, social skills coach here in London. I spent about $350, generated 15 to 20 leads. Extremely good result for my very first marketing campaign ever. I had made the video, edited the video, made the funnel, the landing page, the whole lot. Amazing results, amazing clients generated out of it, and I discounted the whole damn thing and figured I must be doing something wrong. Ended up working in marketing agencies for years building other people's businesses because I thought that I wasn't good at it. I discounted the hell out of that positive. And please do not do that. Again, take objective measures, look around yourself with a very impartial outlook, perspective, and if someone else is achieving it, if that is the standard, the benchmark of what's achievable in that space, then that's what it is. It's like gravity. If you jump and you fall back to the ground, you don't say you're stupid and you need to spend time in a bird's nest to learn to fly, do you? Stupid comparison, but you get the point. You don't defy the laws of physics. Cool. And I'll leave it to that for practical purposes. There is a next level to thinking about that, a level of manifestation and of thinking from the future and manifesting things into existence. I don't want to sound woo-woo, but that's not practical for this point, for the point of this conversation, so let's leave it at that. Just make sure that you have real bearings, real groundings in actual models of reality standards. To that point, jumping to conclusions, that's another huge one. Jumping to conclusions happens when you don't listen to clients, when you don't listen to the market, when you don't listen to the feedback that the world gives you, and you basically get to conclusions with inconsistent and incomplete information. Again, this is just a way to taint reality, to self-sabotage. And another example here, again, client retention. I swear you're going to learn so much about these cognitive errors from your relationships with your clients and with your team, with your employees. Because, look, I used to work at an agency where I thought the owners were completely stupid for burning and churning so many clients and for getting these bad results for clients and then keeping them for weeks and weeks and weeks, months rather. I was also thinking the same thing about body sculpting, body contouring, weight loss treatments, right? Selling them to women in the US. And the reason why I was thinking that is because I was comparing it, I was assessing it against my own system of values, which was saying if you don't get ripped in one session, then it's not worth pursuing. If you don't get rich and scale your business with 1 month of agency SMMA done for you service, then it's a shit service, right? That is jump into my own conclusions, because from their perspective, I can only explain that in hindsight. A lady who's going to a body contouring session and maybe loses a couple of inches, she's winning. She might have been stuck with that body for months, for years, and this is the first slither of hope that she's getting. She's happy with that. It's only her that gets to decide whether that's a win or not. Say with marketing agencies, if you increase the ROAS for one client by 0.5x, if you even keep it in place where it is, and they don't need to work anymore, they need to run their ads anymore, they're creatives, they're free themselves to go and focus on other things in the business, that may be a win for them. So why do you jump to conclusions? Why do you catastrophize and discount the positives? And see, these things are very, very tightly correlated, and get discouraged and disheartened, and then you're unable to sell, and then you're unable to boast about your results and promote yourself adequately. Do not jump to conclusions. Okay, cool. Binary thinking, we've covered this as well. Again, it's so hard to keep these things separate because they're so tightly correlated and interlinked. But another way of looking at another example of binary thinking for me is thinking that I can only do one or the other. I can only offer done for you services, or I can do done by you coaching, that I can only do organic promotion, or that I can only run ads, that I can do email marketing, or that I can do DM outreach. And that is binary thinking. And the way out of it is to reconcile seemingly paradoxical opposites. Example, you could be running top of funnel ads to get new eyeballs on your brand, and then middle of funnel remarketing, retargeting with organic content. You could be running 2 streams of acquisition at the same time. You could be offering done for you and done by you, combined in a done with you. And I know that these things seem contradictory. Another example, should you run proven ads or should you run new tests? Well, maybe you should do both. Maybe you should do 80% proven ads that already work, and then 20% sandbox experiments with big swings and essentially big asymmetric returns. Reconcile opposites, and don't be afraid to to seem paradoxical in your thinking. The people that I know who make the most money have absolutely dialed this down to an art. Another one, big one, not being true to myself, thinking I needed to be a someone else that I'm not in order to be accepted and to have a good chance at happiness, at being accepted in society, in the world, in my group of peers. That's basically saying that as I got older and I got to understand myself a bit better, to figure out who I really am, what my personality type's like, what I'm drawn to, what an ideal day looks like to me in my life, I basically started shedding all the false pretenses of who I am and what matters to me, like traveling and flexing a certain lifestyle, and realized that I'm actually good to just sit down, look in, and build shit, and constantly prove to myself that the hypotheses that I have in my head about how the world works, the actual physical world works, are correct and true. And the only way to know that, to demonstrate that to yourself and to the world, is, are you getting what you want out of life or not? If you want to get rich, are you? If you want to make 10k per month, do you? If you want to make 100k per month, if you want to be ripped, whatever theories you have of reality, if they're correct and you're actually executing them, then you should be achieving what you want. So be true to yourself and to your actual own system of values. Not measuring my inputs, pretty big one. In the gym, in my workday, in my expenses, you have to track everything religiously. Why? Because your perspective of things may be skewed. For me personally, I think I used to overestimate a lot how much work and meaningful input I was generating in one day. In the gym, I could potentially discount the importance of that one last rep, the last 2 reps, the last 3 reps that really are what make the difference between progressive overload and getting ripped and getting jacked and all that stuff. Still working on it, obviously. The amount of food you eat. These things are so insidious. It's so easy to overestimate or underestimate them, which is why tracking apps are such bestsellers and most downloaded on App Store. And so track everything. It's not like you don't have the apps available. And finally, not wanting it enough. I've spoken about this at length before. I will continue to do so because I do think that when it comes to what you really want, you already have. And that's to say that it's not that you don't want what you say you want, building a business, being free from a job. Is that you want other things more, or that you think you want other things more. You've trained yourself, your subconscious mind, the one that makes choices on a minute by minute basis without your actual conscious input, to want to seek the easy way, to want to seek the easy path. And because you're doing that, you're not doing the other things, the ones that you perceive as hard now. Your dopaminergic systems are all messed up. You're drawing dopamine from trivial pursuits, from hedonistic activities. I did that for so long, and I thought I would struggle to be productive, to be actually creating stuff rather than consuming stuff. My biggest issue was consuming a ton of YouTube content, just watching a ton of videos, reading a ton of articles, just constantly procrastinating, shelf development. And I generally thought that that's what I enjoyed doing, and that's what I wanted to do. And I couldn't understand for the life of me how to turn that around and how to make it so that I am actually producing out of it, because you can't monetize consumption. I mean, if you're smart about it, you can at least react to it, but I wasn't even doing that. And so not wanting it enough, huge one. And to be fair, that's probably why I said this at the start of this video. I probably still am a culprit of that, so to say, because even now, I want to play with my dogs. I want to have a partner. I want to spend time with her every day or every other day or whatever. And that's okay. As long as I say it's okay. I have to determine whether these are my true values, these are my true standards, and act accordingly. And so do you. Do you make conscious choices when it comes to these things? Or do you just get swept with the current and always feel like you're at the whims of powers that are not you, that you're not in control? And so I will leave you with that point. Hope this has been informative, useful, and until next time, to your success.